In the ancient world, long before the rise of great empires and civilizations, the people of Mesopotamia, what we now call Iraq, southeastern Turkey, and parts of Syria, looked to the heavens and saw the stars as the signs of something far greater than themselves. They believed that the heavens were populated not only by constellations and celestial bodies, but by divine beings, beings with the power to shape the world. Among these divine figures, none were more revered and feared than the Anunnaki. But who were they? What stories did they tell? And why do they still haunt our imagination today? In the distant lands of Sumer, Akkad, and Babylon, the Anunnaki were the gods who ruled over all aspects of life. They were seen as the mighty patrons of creation, destiny, and the forces of nature. And their influence stretched far beyond the myths and into the very framework of how ancient societies understood their world. The tale of the Anunnaki begins in Sumer, one of the earliest cradles of civilization, around 4000 BCE. The Sumerians were deeply spiritual people, and their pantheon of gods was vast, complex, and filled with mystery. But among the many gods, the Anunnaki stood at the pinnacle. The word Anunnaki roughly translates to those who came down from the heavens, or the royal bloodline, though their exact meaning varies depending on the interpretation of ancient texts. In Sumerian mythology, they were the descendants of An, the god of the heavens, and Kai, the goddess of the earth. Together, An and Ki gave birth to the Anunnaki, who were tasked with overseeing the earth and its inhabitants. The Anunnaki were not merely deities, they were also seen as the intermediaries between the gods of the heavens and the people of the earth. They were believed to have descended from the heavens to establish order, laws, and agriculture, imparting essential knowledge to humanity, from the writing of cuneiform to the secrets of metallurgy and mathematics. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Anunnaki is their role in the creation of humanity. Ancient texts suggest that humans were not the product of divine whim, but the result of an intricate plan. According to the Sumerian epic Enki and the creation of man, the Anunnaki initially lived on Earth in their celestial cities, but they were concerned with their labor and the demands of the gods above. The story goes that the Anunnaki had been tasked with mining precious minerals from the earth, but the work was grueling and the gods above were growing impatient. So they decided to create a labor force, a new species that could relieve them of this burden. The god Enki, one of the most prominent Anunnaki, is said to have mixed the blood of the gods with the clay of the earth to create humanity, a race capable of bearing the weight of labor on behalf of the gods. This creation story is strikingly similar to other ancient mythologies, such as the biblical story of Adam and Eve. In fact, many believe that the story of humanity's creation by divine beings is a motif that transcends many cultures, suggesting a shared source of mythic understanding. The Anunnaki's decision to create humans in their own image, in their likeness, signaled the beginning of humanity's long relationship with the divine. One of the most well-known myths involving the Anunnaki is the Great Flood, a story that bears a remarkable resemblance to the biblical tale of Noah's Ark. In the Sumerian version, the flood was sent by the gods to punish humanity for its sinful ways and overpopulation. However, it is not simply an act of divine retribution. It is also an event that tests the relationship between the gods and humankind. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is one of the most significant Sumerian works, the flood is a pivotal event. The god Enlil, a powerful member of the Anunnaki, is angered by the noise and corruption of humanity. He seeks to wipe them out. However, the god Enki, who is more sympathetic toward humans, warns the hero Utnapishtim, a wise man who is chosen to survive the impending disaster. Enki instructs him to build a great boat to save himself, his family, and the seeds of all living creatures. In many ways, this myth mirrors the story of Noah in the Old Testament. But where the Sumerian version differs is in its portrayal of the gods. The Anunnaki, rather than a single god, are depicted as the collective forces determining humanity's fate. Enki's mercy and intervention represent the idea that the gods were not entirely indifferent to the fate of humankind, even if they were often portrayed as capricious and unpredictable. The Anunnaki were not just gods of the earth. They were seen as guardians of the cosmos, with a role that stretched across both time and space. In the Sumerian view, the heavens were divided into different levels or layers, each ruled by a different group of gods. The Anunnaki resided in the highest of these realms, and they were believed to control the forces of nature, from the weather to the very flow of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The Anunnaki also had a hand in the administration of justice. In many of the ancient texts, they are depicted as judges of human behavior, deciding the fate of mortals based on their actions. The gods were often thought to be the final arbiters of life and death, and their decisions could be harsh, as seen in the stories of the flood or the downfall of the Tower of Babel. The influence of the Anunnaki extended far beyond the early Sumerian period. As time went on, their story evolved and was incorporated into other cultures, including the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. The Epic of Gilgamesh, which remains one of the most important texts in world literature, was written in part as a way of understanding the complex nature of these divine beings and their relationship to the mortal world. However, as with many ancient stories, the narrative of the Anunnaki began to fade with the rise of new civilizations and religions. The Greeks, Romans, and later monotheistic religions, such as Christianity and Islam, replaced polytheistic beliefs with their own divine systems. But the legacy of the Anunnaki never fully disappeared. The idea of powerful otherworldly beings who shaped the destiny of humankind continued to resonate through the ages. In the 20th century, the Anunnaki experienced a renaissance in popular culture. Scholars like Zecharia Sitchin posited that the Anunnaki were not merely gods, but ancient extraterrestrial beings who came to Earth from a distant planet, Nibiru, and influenced the development of human civilization. This theory, though controversial and heavily criticized by mainstream scholars, has sparked a great deal of speculation and fascination, leading to numerous books, documentaries, and even movies about the Anunnaki's supposed role in human history. The tales of the Anunnaki are woven into the fabric of human history, bridging the gap between mythology, religion, and the deepest questions about our origins. Whether as gods or extraterrestrial beings, their influence on ancient civilizations was undeniable, shaping the course of human development in ways both mystical and practical. Today, the Anunnaki continue to capture our imaginations, inspiring curiosity about the unknown, about our origins, our destiny, and the eternal question of whether we are alone in the universe. The ancient Sumerians may have looked to the stars and seen the Anunnaki descending from the heavens, but in our modern world, we continue to look to the skies, hoping to unravel the mysteries they left behind.